Interrupt you there because Rachel's with us. And first of all, you may kill me because I just said that it would be perfectly fine if you four were named permanent standing debate moderators. And I'm sorry about that.
I thought you were my friend.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But that is also another way of saying, again, job well done. And I would never ask you for a judgment, but I will ask you, because there is always news value in the hall, especially even during breaks, during the run-up that we in the television audience aren't able to see or feel or hear. What was your news judgment in the hall about things we weren't privy to?
You know, I was thinking about what I could tell you that you can get from here that you couldn't necessarily get through the screen. And I think one of the interesting dynamics, and I don't know where it comes from, but I think the crowd, I think the audience here was like in class at the start. Like they were absorbing everything. You could have heard a pin drop for a very long time for the whole initial part of the debate. Now, certainly you heard people react. You'd hear small gasps, or you'd hear murmurs, or you'd hear people reaction. But I think as the crowd sort of warmed up as the candidates started to go at each other more, and there ended up being almost a little bit of a call and response with some of the candidates by the end. I thought Senator Harris actually evoked quite a bit of that, and a little bit from Senator Booker as well, even as you guys were describing what you could see through the screen in terms of the nature of those little kinetic moments. So, again, I'm probably too close to it to know how it went overall, but I felt sitting here like, you know, these 10 candidates are getting a chance to put their best foot forward and make their best case. And even when they're fighting, it's mutually respectful and they're still sort of lifting each other up. I'll feel differently about it, I think, once I get out of here and have some time to think about it. But right now, I'm just glad we survived.
Finally, before we do let you go, control over audience response, outburst reaction was remarkable. And when I've done these things in the past, we try to ask them to keep it to a minimum because it takes away from debate time. How did you do that tonight, you four?
You know, part of it, I think, is the professionalism of the women who I was moderating with. Each of them is just nails. Like, these are, like, it's great to have 4 women moderators, and that's this sort of almost like a novelty thing, and people have been talking about that. I think people have been talking less than we ought to have talked about how Ashley Parker, Kristen Welker, and Andrea Mitchell are people you would not want to meet in a dark alley if they were mad at you. Like, I'm a little bit of a wuss, but the 3 of them, like, you just don't push them around, and that's palpable, like force fields around them. I think that really helped. I will also say, Brian, and I know you appreciate these kind of things, that the technical staffing of this debate and the technical production of this debate was flawless. And sometimes at big events like this, big boisterous events like this with lots of cross currents, lots of different voices, some of the things that sometimes what goes wrong is that people can't necessarily hear what's happening, and the moderators aren't confident that you can hear us over the applause, and the candidates aren't confident that you can hear them over the crowd or each other. Here, technically, it was a flawless setup, both in terms of the Tyler Perry Studios and what they did for us, and in terms of our own production team. And you could hear everything and know where every sound was coming from. And I think that actually just made it easier for all of us to try to keep order.
The technical stuff is one of the things our team is really good at. The moderating stuff is, sadly for you, one of the things you're really good at. Rachel Maddow, enjoy the rest of your evening unless you have other plans. Thank you very much.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.